This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We have in our midst Brenda. She is a passionate, she's passionate about improving quality of life by promoting access to inclusive education, which can equip people with the tools required to develop innovative solutions to the world's greatest problems. Brenda is a strategic program planner and a grant writer for nonprofit organizations, and also a youth educational and engagement strategist. Brenda enjoys providing youth with an individualized and comprehensive approach as they pursue their academic and career goals. Brenda is the Chief Inspiration Officer and founder of Moments with Brand, MWB, where she's committed to empowering young women and men and helping them work together to drive social innovation and change. Participate fully in the development of their society, eradicate poverty and inequality, and foster a culture of peace. Today, she'll be taking us through the essentials of applying for scholarships. Before now, we've shared a couple of interesting opportunities, DAAD scholarship, and a couple of others from the European Union, the US, and several other areas. So she'll be taking us through what is required in the application process, as well as how to put together a winning application. So Brenda, please, you have the floor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's morning over where I am right now. Hello.
Hello.
Please go on. We can hear you.
Okay.
Hello.
So my name. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Can I please get a response so I will know everyone is following me? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. You're following.
Good morning.
So my name is Brenda, and I guess some of you know me as Moments with Bren online, and I've been invited to speak about scholarship and grant application. So the first thing you need to understand is your reason why you want to pursue your education further. Why do you want to go to school? Why do you want to pursue the course or program you want to study? What is your motivation of embracing education as a tool for social change? So you need to have all this. In terms of applying for scholarships, hello. Is everyone following me?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
we are following you.
Okay, because I'm hearing background noise.
Mhm.
So, in terms of scholarships, I guess a lot of you must have heard like so many things. A lot of you get really terrified when it comes to like your CGPA from your undergraduate degree. Some of you are worried about writing IELTS. Some of you are worried about writing graduate exams like GMAT, GRE. Some of you don't even know how to go about, writing your research proposal and all of that. Obviously, these are barriers that you definitely face, but you don't have to be scared of anything because I've seen a lot of people, even with a third class degree, get fully funded scholarships into top universities around the world. So the thing is, wherever you have a limitation, maybe you have a low CGPA from your undergraduate degree, you have to actually make up for that. And how do you make up for that? You try as much as possible to do very well, maybe in your IELTS, try to score maybe over band 7.0 out of 9. It could be like getting a very high score in your in your GMAT or even your GRE. It could even be like just putting out an excellent scholarship essay, excellent research proposal. So for some of you who want to go into graduate school that you have to do like research, it's very compulsory for you to write a research proposal while you're submitting your application for admission or even scholarship. So if that thing is very, very good, you will definitely get graduate funding. So when it comes to scholarships, you have to just bear in mind that the scholarship sometimes is either given by the university you're applying to, or maybe it's given by a foreign government, or many a times funding comes from the supervisor or the professor that is going to, supervise you during your degree. So we have like what we call teaching assistantship, research assistantship, that's TA and RA. And students who get TAs and RAs, they also get monthly stipend. And like I said, this comes directly from the professor that will be supervising you, not necessarily the graduate school or even the university. So this is where you have to leverage the use of social media and, professional emailing. There are so many professors, there are so many universities, and even the college admission team, they now use their social media. They use Twitter, some of them use LinkedIn, some of them use Facebook, some of them even use Instagram, because everyone needs social media to push out, whatever business or services they are rendering. So university professors are always on social media. It is up to you to go to the university website and check the list or the names of professors in your faculty or the department you want to apply to. And then once you have their contact information, either their email, you can send them a professional email. So the very first email you send to a potential supervisor is called a cold email. I've talked about that before on my social media. So when you're sending somebody a cold email, you have to be very professional and go straight to the point. My name is Brenda. I've gone through your research work on your webpage, and then you also maybe list about 2 research programs or 2 research work that professor has done, just to show them that you're interested in their work and you already have an idea of what they're doing. And then you go straight and, introduce yourself, who you are, your background, like what your undergraduate degree is, what you did, and why you're interested in, pursuing that graduate program you want to pursue, and why you think that professor is suitable to supervise you during your program. And then you just, politely ask them that you would like, to get more information, and also let them know if they will be willing to supervise you, because that school is the school you would like to apply to. Like, just be very, very professional. And in terms of follow-up, after sending a cold email, in terms of follow-up, just give it like maybe a week before you send a follow-up email, because you don't want to start bombarding people with a lot of emails. They will get really, like, professors don't have that time. Some of them are doing research work. Some of them have graduate students they need to, supervise. Some of them have like personal life problems or challenges. So sending like consecutive emails at inappropriate times would definitely make them just delete your email you're sending. So you have to be very, very professional when sending cold emails. And like I said, you only send cold emails to professors if you're applying to a program that requires you to do a research. I think general programs that are cost-based, you don't necessarily need to contact a professor. So, like I did mention, like, get a scholarship. It's not really easy, but it is actually possible. It is doable if you actually believe in yourself. Like I did mention, like, forget about the 3rd class you graduated with, forget about the 2nd class lower you graduated with. Just make sure that wherever you have a limitation, you're actually making up for that. If you have a 2 or a 3rd class, try and write maybe a GRE exam and score really high on that exam. Write IELTS. I see a lot of you Nigerians, you get really angry on social media saying that IELTS is a scam and on all of that. I totally understand why it is pretty expensive. The IELTS results really expires on time, but that shouldn't be like, that shouldn't deter you, because you have a goal. If you have a goal that you want to go abroad for your studies, you want to also get funding or scholarship or even bursaries, then don't let the price of IELTS or just the expiration date of IELTS to deter you from pursuing your goal. The trick is, IELTS is not compulsory. It is not compulsory. Trust me. You will see it written on the university website. All you have to do is send an email to the college admission team or their office. Send an email to them and tell them, we call it ELP. ELP stands for English Language Proficiency, which encompasses IELTS, PTE, and TOEFL. So you can actually send a waiver request to the university saying that you actually had your undergraduate degree taught in English. You've also worked and done like either actual work or even volunteer work. You've also done all this, and your means of communication has always been English. They will waive the IELTS for you. But in a case where you know that your degree, like you graduated and maybe with a low CGPA, like I did mention, you want to always make up for that. So it's better you write IELTS. Trust me, some universities will use your score on your IELTS, your GRE, your GMAT, your scholarship essay, your statement of purpose, letter of intent. They will use all these, like your performance in all these exams and all these written documents, to actually grade you. They will use it to quantify your performance before they give you admission. So before you join those who are on social media, like crying and yelling and cussing, saying that IELTS is a scam and all that, like I mentioned, I understand that, but you have to just bear in mind that IELTS result also plays a major role in, your admission into the university. Like, just try as much as possible, sit for the exam, maybe get a 7.5 or 8.0 out of the 9.0 band, and you will get considered for a lot of things, right? So what other thing do I have in mind to say? Well, when it comes to scholarship, you get graded based on performance metrics created by the college or admission team. They usually consider, apart from your CGPA and the required documents like your statement of purpose, or you call it letter of motivation, you also have scholarship essays to write. So that's where you need to really express yourself. Why do you think you deserve that scholarship? And when you're talking about why, like when you're writing your scholarship essay, please, your scholarship essay is not your resume. It is not your CV. It is not where you go and brag about how you graduated with first class, you were the best student in your class or whatever. Nobody wants to hear that. What the admission team want to see is, what are the values and what are your skill sets you're bringing into that program? Are you going to actually be of help to, other students who are participating in that program? Will you even help your department in moving forward? And after your graduation, when you check some scholarship applications, they will ask you, what do you intend to do after this program? You have to actually state that on your scholarship essay, because they want to see, after teaching you and giving you knowledge and skills, what are your intentions when you graduate? Are you going back to your country, or you want to go into an organization and make a change in that organization, or even back home where you're coming from? Nobody's saying that you should go back home, but that's what they'll definitely ask you. So these are things you have to really highlight on your scholarship essays, including your statement of purpose. They want to see your values. They want to see like all the skills and knowledge you've acquired during your undergraduate. How are you going to utilize it when you come into the program? The skills you've gained from your work experience or your volunteer experience, how are you going to utilize it when you start the graduate program? That's what they want to see. Nobody is concerned about how you scored 4.0 or whatever it is. That is already stated on your transcript, so there's no point being repetitive. You don't have to repeat that on any of your written documents like your essays. One thing again you should bear in mind, they watch out for your leadership skills. Trust me, they do. They want to see, some of you say you don't have work experience. And I always tell you, don't underestimate yourself. While you were in your undergraduate degree, I'm sure you did like group work. You did group work, you worked with other students. You just have to know how to highlight that on your written documents to show that yes, during like your undergraduate program you worked with other students, and that way you were able to build your communication skills, your leadership skills. You were able to delegate tasks, right? Some of you were even privileged to be like course rep, like you guys call it in Nigeria, like course reps. Highlight all these things on any of your essays you're writing. You've actually done for those of you who did what do you call it, NYSC, right? You should also write that on any of your written document, like your essays. Put it on your resume too. NYSC counts as a post-graduation work. That is what NYSC stands for. It's a post-graduation 1-year work experience. Try as much as possible to reflect that on your resume, and also reflect it on either your scholarship essay or even your letter of motivation. It is very, very, very important. And when it comes to application, you have to keep in mind deadline. Do not start preparing your application when it's just 2 days or 3 days or even a day to the deadline. I think you end up just doing things in a very haphazard way because you're rushing, you're trying to write your essay, you're trying to review the essay or even edit the essay. You've not gotten your transcript from your university. Everything is going to be so chaotic, and you might end up either not submitting on time or even submitting an incomplete application, and you get automatically disqualified from that. And that's one of the reasons you see a lot of people get admission and they don't get scholarships, or they don't even get bursaries. And what else does it entail for scholarship application? You have to be very, very diplomatic, in the sense that some some universities, they don't advertise their graduate funding or even scholarships on their websites. And for you to actually get an idea of, hey, does this university or college, do they actually have like ongoing funding for graduate school or graduate students, reach out to the admission team. They have an admission office in every school. It's always, they have their contact address, email, phone number, or even mail address. It's clearly written on the website. Send an email. Send an email to even the department or faculty you're applying to. Send them an email. Make them know that you're interested in applying for admission to their school and you would like to know if they have like funding, graduate funding. You don't just go and start asking for scholarships. No, always use the word funding. You want to know if there are any available funding for graduates, incoming graduate students. You always have to ask for that. And recently, it was last year, I just discovered the power of negotiation. And that is one of the skills that WEF, the World Economic Forum, just even published this year, saying that a lot of people have to learn how to negotiate. The thing is, sometimes you apply for funding or scholarships and then you're getting like 50%. Why are you going to raise the remaining 50% to pay your tuition or even like take care of yourself when you start school? This is where the power of negotiation comes in. A lot of people are very, very like, they know how to negotiate. You can actually reply back. You get a funding, let's say you get a funding of I would say maybe you got 20,000 Canadian dollars for funding, graduate funding. Do you know you can actually reach out to either the professor, like if you're going to be working directly with a professor, you can send an email and say, this is what your financial situation is right now, and you'll be very grateful if they can actually top it up. Maybe you just be very, 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 very exact. Like say, hey, I know I got $20,000, but I'm humbly requesting if I can get maybe a $20,000 extra. Sometimes it's going to come like, it's not like you're entitled, but it will come as a shock to the school, or even to the supervisor. Some of them have the money. Supervisors always get huge funding from government or wherever. they would definitely top it up for you. But if you're just sending that message directly to the university, they will tell you that they don't have that amount of money you're asking for. That was why they gave you the exact amount they give to you. It is fine. Another thing you should bear in mind is I know a lot of young people are really, really worried when it comes to tuition fee. So let's say you apply for admission and then you get partial funding. So partial funding could be 50%, it could be 30, 40%, 20%. Now you're getting partial funding and not full funding. Don't let that deter you, please. Try as much as possible to, get your visa ready, get your study permit ready, get your travel documents ready, and go to school. When you get to that university you're going to with your 50% funding, ask the university if they have work study programs. I live in Canada, and in Canada, you are allowed as a student, be you an international student or a domestic student, you're allowed to work during school. So in a regular school term, which is like what you guys call semester, you are allowed to you're allowed to work 20 hours per week in Canada, yeah, while you're going to school. And then during the summer, like we're in summer right now, you can work as many hours as you want. If you want to work around the clock, it's up to you. You can work full time during the summer. And universities that I know in Canada, in the US, I don't know about the UK, but I know in Canada, basically, you have like the work study program. So the work study program simply means that while you're a student, you can actually go to work on campus or off campus, and universities provide job opportunities for students. It's just up to you to utilize resources. Like I always tell people, rather than complaining and then feeling frustrated, you can actually utilize resources. Universities have resources on campus. There are also places where you can go off campus, like Employment Services Agency. They have a lot of them in different cities around. I don't know about other countries, but I know like in Canada, there are employment agencies you can actually go to get, like they will help you get jobs. So that way you can even do like 2 part-time or maybe 2 casual jobs, like contract jobs, and then you take part of your paycheck and then you put it towards your tuition fee. And another thing you need to bear in mind, universities have ongoing bursaries. So the thing is, you get a 50% scholarship, or you get a partial funding. The main thing that, like I did mention right now, get enrolled in school, start going to school, start like just get enrolled as a full-time student. If you can't get a work study program, like if you can work while you're going to school, I guess maybe the workload of your program is really, really much, you don't have to stress yourself. Universities always give bursaries to students. I know like during my undergraduate, I was getting like $3,000, $4,000, $2,000, like almost every semester. And the good thing is most of these schools, the bursaries they give out doesn't really depend on your CGPA. Some of them actually consider your community service. So that's where you have to learn how to volunteer. If you're the kind of person with this mindset, oh, I don't want to work for free, I don't want to volunteer, you have to scrap that mentality, because in foreign world, they don't joke with community service, they don't joke with volunteering. You always just look for somewhere, even if it's volunteering in a church or volunteering in a mosque or even like a community center, at the hospital, bank, wherever. Just try and volunteer, and then make sure you write that on your resume. Because in school, in universities and colleges, when they're giving out their bursaries or even grants, sometimes they are just focused on how have you given back to the community? Can you please explain how and when you utilize your leadership skills and all that? And then you can now highlight all these things on your application. And then when you also volunteer, it helps you get reference letters from, I guess, supervisors or whoever they are where the places where you actually volunteered. So these people write reference letters for you that you can use in submitting your bursary application, and at the end of the day you end up getting extra money you can use and pay towards your tuition fee. And this is what I always tell students: just because you got a partial funding doesn't mean you shouldn't fly overseas and go to the school where you got the admission. I know it's very hard. I'm not trying to make it seem like it's so easy, but that was what actually worked for me. Like, even though I got a full scholarship for my undergraduate, I was still like volunteering, I was still participating in community work. And that way I was able to get like a lot of bursaries that at the end of the day I even end up spent I'm sorry, I ended up like misusing so like I mentioned, when you get a scholarship, don't feel deterred. Even if it's full or partial, just try as much as possible. Prepare your documents, your travel documents, get your study permit and your visa, and then travel and go to a country. And let me tell you, one big thing is apply for admission in countries where you know they are student friendly. When I mean student friendly, I'm talking about the laws, the immigration laws. Go to countries where you can work while you're studying. Go to countries that is so easy for you to even apply for bursaries while you're still in school. Go to countries where it is easy for you to get a job. Getting a job might not be like getting a professional job immediately you graduate or even while you're in school. You can actually start entry level positions that will pay, like give you money you can use and pay your rent and get pay for your transportation and your weekly grocery, or I don't know how you guys want to buy your grocery, maybe every week or every month. Go to countries that are very, very student friendly. I heard Australia is good. Canada is very, very good when it comes to like all this immigration policy. And the good thing about, I don't know about other countries, like I say, I'll only speak for where I am right now. Canada is very student friendly in the sense that you can work while you're studying. During the summer, you can work full-time hours. Some provinces have health insurance, but I think right now things just changed as of last year. So students have to pay for their health insurance, I guess, but it's not so bad because at the end of the day, there are some basic things that are subsidized for you. Like you don't have to, let's say now, regularly it will cost you maybe $100 for a medication, but with your insurance you could be getting it for like $30. And another good thing that I know about Canada is you can actually apply for, so when you graduate in Canada, when you do your bachelor's or even your master's or even 1 year postgraduate degree, you can apply for what they call post-graduation work permit. The post-graduation work permit, the highest they can give, if you do a 4 year degree like your undergrad, you get a 3 year postgraduate work permit. If you do a 2 years master's, some people are very lucky because it all depends on the consular officer who is on your application at that point in time. Whoever is handling your application makes a decision, right? So some people are very lucky to get 2 years. I'm talking about masters because regularly it's supposed to be like a year, but some people end up getting like 2 years for that. So the trick is once you get your post-graduation work permit, always go on the immigration website. Every country you go to, they have immigration rules and regulations and laws, and you have to abide to it. For Canada, your post-graduation work permit allows you to work for any employer. Like you can work for anyone, you can work as many hours as you want or as you can. And for you to qualify for permanent residence, because Canada gives you permanent residence after you graduate and work with your post-graduation work permit. You just have to work for maximum of 1 year after graduation. But the thing is, you have to work, you have to get a job on that. We have like categories. We have like knock 0, knock A, knock B. So all these knocks are, they have like job titles or job positions you have to take for you to apply, for you to be eligible for the permanent resident. So you don't just graduate and then do random jobs just like that. No. And what else? So like I did mention, like it is very important for you to apply for school in countries that are very student friendly. Don't go to a country where you have language barrier, Although I'm aware that some countries in Europe are very student friendly, but the only challenge might be language barrier. But that shouldn't deter you. Like I did mention earlier, if you are very, 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 very goal oriented, you know what you want in your life, then language shouldn't be something to bother you. Like you can always learn French, you can learn German, you can learn Spanish, you can learn Italian, whatever, Dutch, whatever the language is, just take out time. You can just take out time. There are lots of mobile apps and there are lots of resources. You have YouTube as well. Like you can learn this language, because at the end of the day, you're not looking for short-term gratification, right? You're looking for a long-term thing. You want a situation where you're creating a better life for yourself, and then at the same time, you're creating a better life for the future family you would want to build. So don't learn language to be a barrier. In Canada, we speak English and French in Canada. So there are some cities where you go to. I know this the province of Quebec. In Quebec, they speak French, although you still find people who speak English. In Ottawa, I'm in the city of Ottawa right now, which is the capital of Canada, and here in Ottawa we speak both French and English. So most of the very good paying jobs, like government jobs and other kind of big jobs, they require you to be bilingual. So why am I saying this? I'm just saying this that so you don't allow, like, language barrier to be a thing that would deter you. Just try as much as possible. If you want to go to Germany, you think Germany is a better place for you, you think Germany has better opportunities, or even the Netherlands, wherever that country is, if you think they have better opportunities for you as a young person, but just the language is a barrier, take out time, go out of your way and learn that language. At the end of the day, like, you only bring more opportunities for yourself. Like, you bring more opportunities for yourself. So I would advise that if you're going to a country where it's required for you to learn their language, learn the language and you will excel, you will thrive. But if you think that, for me, if you're like me who doesn't have that time, I don't have the brain to learn any other language, my French is just basic, like 40%. I'm not really good at speaking French, but my French is like 40%. I mean, I'm okay, but if you're like me, you don't have the time, or you're just scared of learning a new language, then it's better for you to go to maybe an English speaking country, but not just an English speaking country. Go to a place where it is student friendly, and then there are opportunities for you to easily get jobs and for you to easily get your papers in case you decide to become a permanent resident or even a citizen in that country. In Canada, we recently passed Bill C6. So Bill C6 basically means that once you become a permanent resident, you have to stay in Canada for 3 years. Your days have to be numbered. You have to be here for 3 years after getting your permanent residency. And after the 3 years, you're eligible to apply for Canadian citizenship. So why am I highlighting all these things? I'm highlighting all these things because getting admission or even scholarship into a foreign country can actually bring other opportunities your way. For example, you can get jobs, you can meet amazing people, you can even become a permanent resident, and on the long term or long run, you can even get your citizenship in that country. But before you start your application for any school or to any country, just read about that country. What are their immigration laws and rules and regulations and all that? Read all of that before you start thinking, oh, just because Germany has free tuition for students doesn't mean that that's where you excel or that's where you thrive when you look at your life from 5 to 10 years from now. So always have this, be proactive in your thinking, like look ahead. What do I stand to gain, or what are the opportunities that are there for me? Should I go to Germany, or should I go to Netherlands or Mexico or Guyana or wherever to study? What do you stand to gain? You don't want to go to a country where you're just getting scholarship for a 1-year master's degree. I know a lot of you go to the UK for the Commonwealth scholarship, the Chevening scholarship, the DFID scholarship. These are really fully funded scholarships. They are so good. But the thing is, after the 1 year of your study, what next? If you are a believer of, hey, I want to go back home and, change things in Nigeria or change things in Ghana, Kenya, wherever you come from, that is fine. You can go complete your 1 year fully funded scholarship and then you go back home. Or you decide to go to a country where, if you are the kind of person who you think you want to go further in your studies, maybe PhD or just work and raise your new family, then you can think of countries like Canada. I'm not really sure about the US because everyone says it's pretty difficult there, except you get like a really, really, really good job where your employer writes a letter for you to, get your visas or get your papers. So those are things you should keep in mind. Scholarship basically is just being open-minded. It's not easy. You apply for scholarships, you might not get selected, but that shouldn't deter you because there are other ways you can actually pay for your tuition without even scholarships. Like I said, getting the admission and getting enrolled is the main thing. You will definitely have struggles like every other person, even people that their parents are very wealthy and they come here. I'm Nigerian. I've seen Nigerian students who come here from rich homes and then they start going to school and then maybe something happens back home, their parents can't fund their tuition and then they start struggling and struggling. But the thing is, students come to overseas for studies and then they don't utilize resources. Resources are there. Don't let anybody tell you that there are no resources, there are no opportunities. Resources are everywhere, like everywhere. Even in Nigeria. Nigeria might be so, like I see a lot of funny things going on and I know that, there's unequal distribution of wealth. Opportunities are being taken by those who know someone and know someone and know someone. But the thing is, having that ability to utilize, not just utilizing, the first thing is you have to know how to access opportunities. And after accessing it, the next thing is how can you fully utilize these opportunities? And after fully utilizing these opportunities, how can you execute certain responsibilities so that at the end of the day, you don't end up abusing the opportunities you've received? Some people will get scholarships or get admission, they fly overseas for study, and you see them, rather than going to school, you're skipping classes, you're doing drugs, you're doing things that you're not supposed to do. I've seen students who, even when they get admission and they get enrolled in school, some of them maybe in their second year they stop going to school. Some of them will skip classes, some will even take like a term off to go work. The thing is, when you start doing all these things, you're breaking the law that governs international students. And when you want to apply for your post-graduation work permit, especially in Canada, they are going to definitely have a look on all those things that you broke, and it might affect they might not give you a post-graduation work permit when you're done. So like I did mention, when you go overseas for your studies, try to utilize opportunities. If you end up not getting a full scholarship, there are always bursaries available on campus and even off campus, because I know, like when I did my undergraduate, there were lots of scholarships outside of the universities. Like you have churches, you even have the mosque. I know, like the mosque, the church, community centers, organizations like non-for-profit organizations, they had a lot of small scholarships for students. And it's just up to you. Like, learn how to use the internet. The internet has tons of opportunities. Learn how to use the internet to search for these things. Ask people questions. Go for networking events. Networking events doesn't have, you can go for any kind of networking event. It could be a professional networking event, it could be a social event. Like some people like clubbing, you can go to a club and even find like rich students who are there. Some of them, I'm not saying you should exploit people, no, but there are rich students that don't even have time to do the assignments and things like that. You could help them, review the assignments. You could even, if you're very good at a particular subject, you can actually become a tutor to your fellow students. Universities have such job opportunities on campus where they hire students to come and become teaching assistants, or they hire you to come and become a tutor and then you teach. And I know in Canada, like most schools, we pay you like $21 for being a tutor on campus. So utilize those opportunities. And one thing that will help you raise money as an international student in any foreign country where you're studying is you utilizing the skills you have. So if you're a guy and you know how to cut hair, like, I mean, you can start doing that in the comfort of your home. Like, just we have some platforms here where you can actually post ads. So in Canada there's one called Kijiji. Everybody goes there. Like, you can, if you want to rent house, you find houses there. If you want to buy a car, if you want to do ride share. So some of you know how to drive. If you know how to drive, you can just post an ad and say, hey, anybody who is interested in a ride share, you can actually give the person a ride share. So ride share is basically you're just driving people to wherever they want to go to, and then you charge them, right? If you're the type of person, if you're a female student who knows how to cook, if you know how to cook, you know how to bake, please, when you go to any foreign country for your study, utilize that opportunity. You can start taking orders for other students, like make food, and then they pay you for that. If you're a fashion designer, you know how to sew clothes, please feel very free to start sewing, and you make money. I'm just giving all these examples because I don't want us to start thinking just getting a scholarship is the only way you can fund your education. No, there are different. You can fund your education by getting bursaries, even from volunteering. Some people will recommend and say, hey, Brenda, the other day, I know last month you put in about 70 volunteer hours. Thank you so much. This is a check of $500 or $1,000. It has happened to me several times. Like when I wasn't even expecting it, and I'm getting it like a token, and I can use that and put in towards, even if I want to pay fees or I want to do anything. Then, if, like I mentioned, if you know how to cook, how to sew, how to cut hair, how to do anything, even just fixing electronics and all that, you can do that and raise money and then put it towards your tuition. And one thing I'm going to advise everyone here is your financial discipline. As an international student, you have to be financially disciplined. When you go to any country, make sure you get a lot of information about their credit card, like getting credit card or MasterCard. Get information, because I know in Canada and the US and other places, you use a credit card to build your credit history. Don't just take money and be spending the money. Put it back. Like, use your credit card to pay for things and then put back the money into that credit card. That's the way you build your credit score. Because in Canada, when you want to get, I guess, a house or something serious, you need the bank, right? And the bank will always, not just the bank, employers here will check your credit. There are some jobs that they will ask you, they will take permission for you to check, for them to check your credit history or your credit score. So if it's pretty low, nobody wants to give you a job because they feel like you're financially you're not financially responsible. Nobody want to, especially in a job where you have to deal with people's money, like working in a bank or working with a microfinance firm or business firm where you're actually going to be dealing with people's money. Nobody will employ you. So financial discipline is like number one thing. And then, apart from savings accounts, which I think most savings accounts will put interest, but ask questions, build your RSSP. If you're coming to Canada or the US, go and Google what RSSP is, what TFSA is, GIC is. These are more of like ways you save money for yourself for the future. And then another thing you should bear in mind is the taxing system. Like, how can you file for tax as a student, as an international student? These are all the things you should look, like, just gather information about things like this. So pretty much this is all I can say right now regarding scholarships, funding, and other ways you can raise money for your tuition fee. And also I talked about the financial discipline aspect as well. Do you have any question, everyone?
Thank you so much, Brenda. We've been enlightened by this short conversation. I want to believe we have people with questions. Please, if you have any questions, please indicate so I could unmute you if you've been muted.
You can ask your questions, right?
You can unmute yourself and ask questions, please, if you have any.
Okay,
Introduce yourself before you ask. Your
hello.
name and the country you're from.
Hello, before the question, I just remember that some scholarships, they will ask you for a letter of recommendation. So when they ask you for a letter of recommendation, please try and get a letter of recommendation from your lecturer or your previous professor. It doesn't have to be a professor, except some of them will ask you academic reference, which obviously means you have to get one from your professor or lecturer. Some of them will ask you work reference. That means you have to get a letter of recommendation or letter of reference from any of your employer or supervisor. Some of them will ask you like just general letter of recommendation. So the general one could be from anyone, like somebody who can actually, attest for your character or your work experience or generally for who you are. So you could use anyone, like anybody can write a letter of recommendation, but just make sure that you follow rules and regulations when it's no, sorry, you follow the guideline. When they say get a letter of recommendation from an academic supervisor, they're asking probably from a lecturer or professor. When they say work reference, you get from either a previous employer or supervisor or coordinator, or even a volunteer coordinator. That's why I always keep saying, like, community service and volunteer work, don't joke with it. Like, your pastor could even write, your pastor or your imam, or I don't know, if you practice African traditional religion, you can ask your babalawo or ezemo to write one for you. So, like, yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So do you have questions? Please unmute and then you can ask.
Ask your questions.
Hello, Brenda. This is Wondam. I have a question.
Well, from which country, please?
Originally I'm from Ethiopia, but I'm living in US currently, attending an internship in University of Michigan.
Okay. Please go ahead.
So my question is like, when is the graduate application opened, like in Canada? I know in university is from September to December, but I was wondering if I know for Canada.
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you for your question. So the best way you can actually get information about application periods and deadline is to go on the university website. So the thing is, when you go on the university website or the college website, click on the program you want to apply for, because every program has their own deadline. Yes, every program on the school or every program actually has their application period and deadline. So let's say you want to go to University of Toronto here in Canada and you want to study chemical engineering, you will definitely just go on the internet, do a keyword search, masters in chemical engineering, University of Toronto, deadline. Just put it that way. So it directly takes you to the web page of that program you're applying for. And then they always have like tabs where you can click on, like on each tab you see like application requirements, you will see guidelines, you will see deadline, application deadline. So when you click on the deadline, you would definitely, that means you're getting first-hand information directly from the university, not hearsay or what Brenda says. So the best way you can find the information about deadline is to go on the website. And the deadline do change, right? So let's say this year, the program might say their application is ending maybe April 1st, and then next year you find out that it's ending like July 2nd. I've seen that happen a lot. So the best way you can find information about deadline is to go on the program webpage. Go directly to the program webpage or the university website, and also feel free to send an email to the graduate admissions officers, where they would definitely provide you current information. So a general overview of application deadline. If you're applying in Canada, we usually have 2 application period, but some schools have 3, because the reason why they have 3, some schools allow students to resume in summer. like May of last month, May, which is last month. Some people just started their degree last month. Why the regular application, like resumption time, is January, which is winter, and then you have summer. So if you're planning to start, if you want to start school in September, you definitely have to apply. You have to apply for admission like 3 months or even 4 months before September start date. If you want to if you want to resume your program in winter, which is like January of 2020, the best time for you to start putting your application should not exceed at most like October. It shouldn't exceed that. So like I did mention, the best place you can get information about application period and deadline is to go directly on the school website or your program webpage. Have I answered your question?
Yes, Brenda, thank you. And I have one more question, please.
Okay.
Like as you said, if our medium of instruction, let's say in Ethiopia, is English, so like, do I need to take the TOEFL for English proficiency?
Okay, so that's a good question. Like I mentioned, if you had your undergraduate degree in Ethiopia in English and you've worked or you've even done some volunteer experience in English, it is not compulsory, except the only exception is when the university says it's a must. When they say it's a must, that means you don't have any option than to submit the English proficiency test. But when they just put it as a general requirement and you know you don't want to write the exam or you can't afford the money for the IELTS, write what we call an IELTS waiver request. So the IELTS waiver request, type it as a letter on your Word document. Basically, I'm going to share some links and also some free samples. I will send it, and you all are going to have an access to that. So you just send an email, send a letter saying that you had all your education, like ever since you started going to school, you've always been taught in English, and you've also worked like using English as a medium of communication, and you would only want the university to waive the IELTS requirements for you. They would do it. For Canadian schools, I know like last year I put out a list of all Canadian schools that have IELTS exemption. Yes, IELTS or TOEFL is not compulsory. Trust me. Like I said, there are general requirements that you always find on program application, but it's not compulsory, and this is where you can actually send the university a waiver request saying that exactly what I just explained. Just tell them that you've always been taught in English and you would want them to waive the IELTS or TOEFL or PTE they're asking for. They will definitely waive it for you. It is clearly written. Most Canadian schools that I know, and even the US is so good. The good thing about the US is some universities will even waive application fee. Like you don't have to pay for application, like regular admission application. You don't even have to pay for that. Unlike Canadian schools where it's a must for you to pay for application fee. But IELTS and other English language proficiency like TOEFL, PT, you can actually write a waiver request and they'll waive it for you. It's not compulsory. And that is why sometimes I laugh when I see people come on social media and start crying that, oh, IELTS is compulsory. They're asking them. No, it's just a general requirement, except that program you're applying to, they say it's a must, then you have no option. But if it's just a general thing, it is not compulsory for you to write IELTS, TOEFL, or PTE. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, Brenda, thank you very much for your clear explanation, and thank you. Have a good time.
Do we have other questions, please? Moses. Okay, we have a couple of questions here. Let me quickly read them. Moses says, I need more information on this currently at University
Yes,
of...
I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you.
Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello.
Okay, let me quickly complete Moses' question. He says, okay, I guess it's not a question. It's basically saying that he found the session insightful. Basile said, can you send this email? Definitely, we'll get across to you, Basile. Once we have the link, we share it with everyone on the call. So do we have a question now?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Sunday from Nigeria.
Okay, Sunday.
I'm Obu Sunday from Nigeria. I want to make inquiries. I was at an educational conference. Then we're told that if you are a graduate,
Hello,
Please,
go ahead.
if you
I
are
can
not
hear
speaking,
you.
endeavor to mute. So be on mute, please, so you can hear the
and
questions
you are applying for
properly.
a Canadian university, graduate program.
Hello.
Sunday, can you hear us? I guess his internet is pretty bad.
Maybe you get my question before you get to his.
Okay, please go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm Jaffa Sani from Cameroon.
Okay, please.
My question
Can you
is,
hear me, sir?
what do you do when you have pending results, like you're still waiting for your final results or transcript to come out?
Okay, so that is something you will have to contact your university, like your undergraduate university where you had your first degree. You will have to, because the thing, to be honest, like you can actually get into school like for masters when you don't have your transcripts. No university will give you scholarship or even admission. Some of them, I know the schools in the UK, the schools in UK will actually give you admission. Like I think they call it conditional, right? They will give you admission even when they haven't seen your transcript, and then you can only resume or become fully enrolled as a student when they've already received a copy of your transcript. But other schools that I know in Canada, it is actually mandatory when you're applying for your when you're applying for your postgraduate or even your graduate program, you will have to upload your transcripts. Yeah, so without that, you can actually move forward. So it is up to you if you've graduated, because I know things can be very funny back home. If you've graduated and you haven't received your transcripts, you will have to contact your school. And I don't know why schools back home do that. Like, it's your degree. Why are they keeping it from you? So you have to contact your school and talk things with them. Like, that's the way I see it. Especially like, and the thing is, a lot of fully funded scholarships will actually open in August. Like, we just have next month. A lot of scholarships are going to be open, and you really want to start contacting your school right now to release. I don't know the process that you have to do, like in applying for your transcript, but whatever it is, you have to start applying for your transcript right now and make sure you have your results, because fully funded scholarships are going to start opening next month. So I don't know, like, you just have to contact your school. I hope this answers your question. Like, just be very proactive in anything you're doing. If you know they're going to take forever, like if you know someone that knows someone in that administrative department or office at the school where they actually release transcript, please try as much as possible to contact that person or do whatever it takes to make sure that you have your either you have your certificate. Nobody's going to ask. I don't think they will ask you for certificate. They will definitely ask you for your transcript. So get that, and that's the first thing you should do, and make sure you have that handy, because without your transcript, I don't think you can apply for admission or scholarships except you're applying to UK schools. So please try as much as possible to contact your university on time. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Any other question, please? Sunday.
Yes, Chuck, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a
please.
question. Okay.
Okay, the lady first. Let's take a lady.
Okay.
Can
I
you
have a
introduce
question.
yourself and then we can proceed?
I have a question.
Please go
My
ahead.
name is Achieng. I'm from Kenya. And I'd want Brenda to take us through the post application interviews, because some universities usually require that you do an interview after you've applied for the scholarship. So please, Brenda, take us through the post application interview. What do they look for, and what should we be able to present?
Okay, thank you. Good question. So when it comes to, that's a very brilliant question. Thanks for asking. So that's true. There are scholarships. The thing is, each scholarship has its own set of requirements and the information a particular university or organization will request from applicants, right? It could be like some organizations, especially foreign organizations or foreign governments that give scholarships to foreign students. Many of them will want the applicants to, participate in a scholarship interview. It all depends. Not just for scholarships. I know some universities in US and even here in Canada, and some of them in the UK, just for graduate application, they will ask you to do an interview. And interview questions vary. If it's just a regular graduates application interview, that one is usually straightforward. They're asking you to explain, tell us who you are. And when they ask you questions like that, tell us about yourself, please make sure you keep it really concise and straightforward. When they ask you, tell us who you are, don't go start telling them how you like to eat sadza or something, or you like rice and stew. No. When they ask you, tell us who you are, start by saying your name, and then also talk about your background in your undergraduate. What was it that you studied? What were the skills you gained while you were doing that undergraduate degree, and how it relates to the program you're applying for. You don't just want to start. I know, like some of us, let's say you study something like philosophy in your undergraduate, and then in your master's you're now applying for something like engineering, or let's say law or nursing. There's already something like that's already a red flag, because it's like you're switching from one field to another, and they want to know why. So you have to always look for ways to link why and how what you did in your undergraduate correlates with the program you're applying for, or just give them reasons why you're actually switching. I'm just saying, just in case. Can you please mute? There's background noise. So there are a couple of questions they will always ask you. Some of them will ask you like, why do you want to study that program, and what are the skills you're bringing to the cohort. So they're basically asking you what are the skills you're bringing into the program, and how other students are going to benefit from you being part of that program. So these are basic questions you just need to know how to answer. What I'm going to do right now, or after this webinar, I will send documents and templates of how you can actually answer these questions. Like, you can just save them somewhere if you have like a Google Drive, just to help you, because there's so many, like tons and tons of questions. Questions could come from anywhere. Like I did mention, it depends on the organization that is offering the scholarship. It depends on the universities will ask you questions just to see how you're prepared for the program, and how your motivation to participate in that program aligns with the vision and mission of that program or that university. Same thing applies to organizations. Like in Germany, the thing is, in Germany, most of these German organizations that offer scholarships are actually religious institutions, especially like Christian institutions. Many of them want to see if you have human values, like core values that aligns with the mission of that organization. So it helps you. This is one way you can actually tailor your answers or your responses to suit whatever mission and vision that organization or that university has. So I will send a document that has list of questions, likely interview questions for scholarships and graduate admission, and then I'll also send answers as well. So it will just serve as a guide or a guideline for you to know how to prepare yourself for this interview. And another thing is, interviews can take place through Google Hangout or even Skype. You always have to make sure that your environment is clean, the light is good, there's no noise in the background, your camera is perfect, and then your body language counts too. Like, make sure you're not making faces, you're not making lots of hand movements and eye movements. You're looking straight into the camera and speaking to the admission team or whoever is interviewing you. So those are like the basic things you need to prepare yourself for. As regards the question, I will send a document that has lists of questions and possible answers you can also provide during the interview. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Yes, it does.
Thank you.
John, can you ask your question now?
Okay, my name is John Obwaba. I'm calling from Ghana. Brenda, thank you very much for this presentation. You spoke about the issue of negotiations, and I didn't know that you can even apply to a university and really be negotiating for some of these admission requirements and funding arrangements. In a university, which unit or persons can you really initiate these negotiations with, that they can really have time for you to listen to you in terms of these negotiations?
Yes, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. So the reason why I brought that up is just similar to how, like, in the workplace, you know how when you go for interviews or jobs, and when it's time, they start asking, there's something they call salary negotiation. And I know, like, because I'm really into the education space, so I came up with this thing called like funding or scholarship negotiation. But later on, I found out that I'm not just the first person to come up with this idea. A lot of people who help students, like international admission recruitment personnel in schools, they also know about this concept. So there are two people you can actually contact to negotiate funding with. One is the professor. So if you're applying for a research-based program where you have to do research, either qualitative or quantitative research, and come up with a thesis and all of that, funding usually comes directly from the professor who supervises you. And this graduate funding includes RA and TA, like I mentioned. TA is teaching assistantship, RA is research assistantship, and then you'll be getting monthly stipend. So this is how you can negotiate. Say your program was $40,000 for the 2 years master's program, and you're only getting like 20 or even 15 plus monthly stipend. You can actually politely reach out to the professor, send an email. I'm also going to send a template for this. You send out an email, you're making it seem like it's an inquiry you're making, but at the same time, you're trying to strike a negotiation. And please, whatever email or letter you're writing, don't come off as being entitled, because that money doesn't belong to you. The money came from somewhere, because universities raise money through public fundraising. They get money from their past alumni, they get money from the federal government, from other companies and things like that. So don't feel entitled to that. The only reason I brought up the negotiation talk is because I know a lot of academically talented students are economically disadvantaged. Like, not everyone has the money to pay high tuition fee. So even if you get funding, there's a way you can actually negotiate. Like, let the professor know that maybe you come from a family, or you don't want them to start having pity on you anyways. Just try and give like, make it more, your letter should actually focus more on like the ambition, the motivation, the skills you have, and how you think like even being his own protege or even his students can actually bring a lot of, you know, growth in his department. Like just say something. And why am I telling you this? I have two friends who are Nigerians, they are ladies. When they applied for scholarships to different schools, some of them were getting like partial scholarships, and two of my friends were bold enough to negotiate. One of them, I'm going to ask her how she went about that. She was able to say, you know, like giving me 50%, I'll still have barriers, financial barriers to participate in this program. I know I'm really competent for this program. I know I'm going to do very well in this graduate program, and I want to do my research and get it published. But I come from a less privileged home, and I just want to use this opportunity to humbly request if there can be maybe a 10% increase in the graduate funding that I receive. Trust me, some of them are very nice. They will let you know if they have funding, extra money, because most of these professors get their funding from the government or even from companies that, you know, sponsor the research work they're doing. So some of them would they'll give you a top up, while some of them would just outrightly tell you, nope, I don't have this money. We don't have this money in this department. Unfortunately, it's fine. And then if you don't get that, then you will have to follow the other ways I gave, like getting enrolled and working and, you know, doing things with your skills. The second people you can contact to negotiate will be the graduate department. So each school has a graduate department, like, or even the alumni, alumni of that school. They have an association. Most universities do, like where you see like people who graduated from the universities are even the ones always sponsoring and donating their money and all of that to the university. So reach out to people like that. Like look for information on the school website. Send an email to the graduate admission office and say, hey, this is your situation. You would like to know if you can receive extra funding, or not just receiving extra funding from the beginning. You can ask them, are there other available means of avenue for me to raise money when I'm enrolled in school? And I would like to get contact of the head of whoever is in charge of the alumni association of this university. And then you can also leverage the you can also leverage social media. A lot of all these people that graduated from either the program you want to enroll in, or even the university, you'll find some of them have become CEOs or MDs or whatever. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. You have them on LinkedIn. Send a followers request, reach out to some of them, write a professional message you send to them, and I just got admitted into the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Toronto, and I see that you graduated from this program. Just strike a conversation, and before you know it, that's how you build relationships. And if you before you know what is going on, if that person works in that city or that school, you can just let them know, you can stylishly solicit for help, and it turns out fine. Like, it has happened to a lot of people, and for me to bring it up is because I know people have done it before. So there's power in negotiation. There's power in negotiation. You don't have to be afraid. The way you go to work and negotiate for salary, you can actually negotiate for funding. The highest you get is a no, and it doesn't hurt. It's not going to kill you if you get a no, but there's actually a sense of bravery when you go out of your comfort zone or your fear zone, and then reach out to supervisors, reach out to the graduate admission teams, and also past students who graduated from that program, not just the university, from that exact program you're applying to. Reach out to them, and something will definitely happen. Yes. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you so much, Ben. Moshood Taiwo, you have a question, please. Can you kindly ask? Moshood Taiwo, are you still with us? If not, Paul Lemoron You said you have a question. Paul, are you still with us? Okay, please go ahead.
My name is Paul Lemaron from Kenya. I would like
I
to,
can't
Can
hear
you
you.
speak a bit louder?
my name is Paul Lemaron from Kenya, and I wanted to ask Brenda if she can guide us through some scholarship opportunities available for African students. Hello.
Paul, you are very low. Can you speak a bit louder,
I can't
please?
hear you.
Yeah, sure. I'm saying my name is Paul Lemaron from Kenya, and I wanted to ask Brenda if she can take us through some of the scholarship opportunities available for African students. Please. Hello.
Hello. Can someone please repeat the his question?
He's here to ask. Paul, can you speak a
Yeah,
bit louder, please? We can barely hear you.
yeah, sure.
He's
I'm saying
asking.
I wanted her to.
Okay, can someone interpret his question or amplify it? Please.
He's asking Brenda to share with us some of the scholarships that are out right now for African students.
Okay, good question. So the thing is right now, because this is summer, right now there are no specific scholarships for African students. But in August, a lot of fully funded scholarships are going to be out. And for those of you who are from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, I know that universities in the UK usually have specific scholarships from students from, East Africa, Southern Africa as well. So you have to look out for that. But it's a good question. You've given me a task today. I will try as much as possible to curate a list. I will create a list next week. I'll create a list and then I'll share as well. You all will definitely receive a list of either ongoing or upcoming scholarships for African students. Yes, I'll get a list of the upcoming ones. I don't think there are ongoing ones right now. Upcoming scholarships, I will get a. Does this answer your question?
Can I just add? Currently, there's the Pan-African Scholarship Open, which closes on the 7th, tomorrow.
Okay, what scholarship is that?
Pan-African Scholarship.
Okay.
Can you kindly share? Go ahead, Brenda.
So Pan-African Scholarship, it closes tomorrow on the 7th.
Oh,
it's been open
what scholarship is that?
The Pan-African Scholarship by the AU.
Oh, I did. I shared that on my Twitter like 3 times. I did already.
Yes.
The Pan-Africans. Yeah, I did. I shared that a lot, like up to I think 2 or 3 times on my social media. So the thing with people is when opportunities are out there, it is up to them to utilize the opportunity, right? People, because like I did mention, social media is something everybody should learn how to utilize. Like professors are there, universities are even sharing their ongoing programs and scholarships. People like myself, we're taking out our time because I spend a lot of money, right? In Canada, yeah, like nothing is free. I pay up to like $65 every month for my phone, not even like my phone was bought outright, but I pay for Wi-Fi every month. So when people like myself, we put our information out there, it is up to people who need that information to utilize it. So like you did mention, the Pan-African Scholarship, I know I tweeted that like 3 times this year, and it's up to people who want the scholarships to apply. The only thing I can do is go extra, like helping people review their your application if they want me to. Like, that's the only thing I can do. So one thing I would say, this is also a good question or good thing you're bringing this up. Let me tell you one thing that will help you in terms of applying for scholarships. Try and use Google spreadsheet or use Excel. Even if you don't know how to use Excel, just get like a notepad or something you can jot. I usually use Evernote. Evernote is my favorite like management app I have on my phone, where I always write the list of things and I need to keep track of them. Sometimes you might find a scholarship that the admission deadline has passed, but it's coming up soon again, right? It's going to open again before the end of the year. You write those down and then try and put like a reminder, like, hey, this scholarship is going to open later on this year. I need to go back. And what I always do is when you click on that scholarship, you always find if they have requirements, you will definitely find the requirements on the scholarship website. Write everything down. They need a transcript. Then start running around to get your transcript. They need you to write a statement of purpose or a letter of intent or letter of motivation. Just prepare one ahead. I have a Nigerian girl who contacted me last week. I was so surprised when she sent me 4 Word documents. Like, she had already written essays down for Chevening. Chevening has not opened. Like, Chevening is opening, I guess, next month or even in September. A fully funded scholarship for only Commonwealth students from Commonwealth countries, including African countries. And this lady has already written down, like, she has answered all the questions because they don't change their questions, right? They all stay the same. She's reading 4 documents, like 4. She wrote scholarship essay, letter of motivation, personal statement, everything, even study plan. She has already written all these things down and she sent it to me to review. So I think that is where being proactive really counts. Like, the scholarships are there, even if they're opening up, they're coming up soon. How prepared are you for the application? So for me, keep a track of everything, like write down lists of scholarships you want to apply for, click on the website, check their requirements, make sure you have all the requirements met. If they're asking you for essays, some of them don't change their questions. Like, they have general questions they always ask, they don't change it. Write 500 words about blah 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 blah. Just prepare your own answer and then get people to proofread it, get people to edit it for you, get people to go through it for you. And then once the application portal opens up, you're already, like, you're fully prepared to submit, and you just have to stay hopeful. Like, that's it. And if there's an interview coming up, try as much as possible to contact people who have already received that scholarship in the past. Ask them, what did they do? How did they answer the questions? What did they include on their application? And all that. So that way you get a sense of what it means to, submit an excellent application. So that's all I have to say right now.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Katligo, you have a question here. You're asking what should be the content of letter of motivation. I guess that has been answered, right?
I will also send you links and things. I'll send you links and then I'll send you samples for general questions regarding letter of motivations, statement of purpose, study plans, scholarship essay questions, interview questions. I will send you all I will send you guidelines and then samples that you can keep for yourself. Yes. Any other question?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do you have any other question, please?
Ask your questions.
Although there's one here.
Hello.
Okay, Paul. Paul is asking.
Yes, John.
Okay, John, you have a question, please.
Yes. John from Ghana again. I want to find out, how do you get to know your professor who will be supervising you? Is it at the application stage, or you need to request for that supervisor?
Yeah, that one depends on you as a potential. That one depends on you as a student. So Like I said, there are two types of programs for graduate school. You have the one that is research based, meaning that you go into the lab or you go to the community and do research work and then write a thesis at the end of the program. And then you have the one we call coursework. Coursework, you're not doing anything, you're just literally going to school to learn, write exams and graduate. So you're not writing any thesis and you're not publishing any paper. So for research-based programs, those are the ones that usually require you to have a professor. So some schools will tell you that they will assign a professor to you, while some of them will tell you you have to find that professor yourself. They will even give you a list of, they'll tell you for this program you'll be needing a super academic, they call them academic supervisors. So you have to go to that program. Let's say you want to study chemical engineering, you go to University of Toronto website, click on chemical engineering, read the requirements that you need, read all their requirements and all the documents and all the processes they want you to carry out before you submit your application. They will boldly let you know that you need an academic supervisor. Click on this link that takes you directly to all the supervisors in that faculty, like Faculty of Engineering and those who are doing research in chemical engineering, your specific concentration. And then it is up to you to now start clicking on, let's say that web page has maybe 5 or 10 professors who are doing their work in chemical engineering. All you have to do is click one by one on each of them's profile, and when you click on their profile, it tells you who they are, all the research work they've done, and their concentration and all of that. So you have to going through each person's profile, you will now decide as a student, hey, I think this professor is doing something related to what I am really interested in. Then you see their email, you send them an email, like send them a cold email. Some of them will not reply you. Don't let that bother you. Send a follow-up after 1 week. Don't send a follow-up immediately because it feels like you're stalking and being disrespectful, and professors don't like that. So you do a follow-up. If you're lucky, some of them will tell you, oh, there's space in my lab, I'll be willing to accept you. Fine. That means once a professor accepts you and other parts of your requirements, you've met that, then good for you. Why some of them will not reply at all? Like some of them will never ever respond. Don't let that eat you up. You can try other professors. Some will respond and tell you that their lab is full. When they say their lab is full, it just means that they're not taking in any students. You don't feel bad. Just keep trying and don't just settle down on one school. Try as much as possible to apply. If you find out that other universities or colleges have your program, then apply to those ones as well. Don't just waste your time on just one school. And one thing I would advise you all to also keep in mind, please, if you know that if you know that you don't really have the money to fend for yourself even after getting a scholarship, because most scholarships are just tuition fee waivers. When it's tuition fee waiver, it simply means that your tuition fee is covered, but your accommodation, like paying for rent, feeding and everything, you do it yourself. If you know you can't afford it, I would, trust me, don't apply to schools you cannot afford. That's what I always tell people. Except you're extremely confident in getting into that school and you're not going to face financial challenges, then that's fine. I'd advise, I'd rather you go to a school that is affordable. Let me use, no school is cheap, but just go to schools that are affordable, that even if you don't get a full scholarship, you will not necessarily have to suffer as an international student there. You have to be extremely careful with this. Don't go for Ivy. Like in Canada, we have some Ivy League schools like University of Toronto, we have University of British Columbia, we have McGill, we have Waterloo. Like these schools are really expensive, especially in the province of Ontario and the province of British Columbia. So you don't have to actually stress because of prestige that is attached to a school. At the end of the day, knowledge is the same. It's how you utilize the knowledge while you're in school and after you graduate that will set you apart. Somebody can study in Harvard and even graduate with a first class or a distinction, but you went to maybe a very affordable school and let's say you didn't even graduate with a distinction in your master's, but your head or your brain has the knowledge and you're willing to work, you find yourself even making more money money than somebody who graduated from Harvard or whatever. These schools, let me to be very honest, most Ivy League schools you see, it's just the wealth that is attached to them. It's not like there's anything special. Some of them have very good programs, no doubt, but some of them is just wealth and prestige attached to the school name. So be careful when you're applying for programs. Go for programs that you know you can afford, like programs that even with partial scholarship, you will not really have to start struggling as a student. So I hope this answers your question.
Do we have other questions? I know, Alpheus.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, please. I guess we need to take two more and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, I called it. I was trying to ask that, like a graduate. If you are applying for a Canadian university, what is the time range that between when you graduate and when you apply for it?
Hello?
Can you go over the question again, please?
I said that as a graduate, if you're applying for a Canadian university, what is the time range between when you graduate and when you're applying for the program? Is it like a year difference, a 2 year or 3 year? What is the time difference?
You mean like when is the best time to apply for graduate program?
No, I mean like when, like if you graduate like maybe 2017, maybe is it still allowed that you can still apply in like 2020 or thereabouts?
You can apply anytime you want to apply for school. I don't think anybody's putting any age restriction on you when it comes to school application, because if they do, you can actually pick up a case against the university because that's discrimination. You're allowed to apply for whatever program you want to apply for at any time you're willing to do that. I don't know. I'm not aware if schools have any sort of age restriction. I'm not aware of that. I'm not. Do you have any other question, or do you want me to elaborate more?
Okay, can we take one more question and then we'll call it a day? Do you have a question? Mujib, please introduce yourself and then ask your question, please.
Good evening, Brenda. My name is Mujib. I just want to ask as regard Canadian scholarships. I mean, maybe perhaps masters by research. Can you kindly give the best time frame to apply? The majority of these lab, because most times I see adverts like the social lab you can apply now, things like that. But
okay,
I work. Hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello.
Go on. Yes, go on. I'm listening.
So, okay. So I just want to know which time during the year is best to apply.
Okay, I think someone asked the question, a similar question. Like I mentioned, you have to always go on the school website and they have the application period. So application period simply means when the application portal opens and when it's going to close. Let's say some schools we have like a time frame of within 2 to 3 months. So you just have to make sure you submit your application within that time frame they put up there. Application time varies from universities to universities. So the best place you can always find this sort of information is to go on the school website. And I know like some universities you start seeing their ads on your social media popping up. Some of them it just shows that they are still accepting application. If you are interested in the program, fine, you can go submit your application. But another thing that just came to my mind, you have to be very careful when you're applying for programs, especially for countries like Canada. Make make sure that that school has a license, because I know, like with Canadian schools, if it's not registered, like the government calls them learning institution or something. If it's not really registered, you will get denied study permit. But literally, almost all universities are definitely registered as learning institutions with the government of Canada. And why some of them that you have to be very careful of is those ones that call themselves colleges. Some colleges are also registered, but just be careful. Make sure that that college or that university has the license to enroll international students, because some of them don't have, and once they don't have and you apply for study permit or whatever, you get denied. So that's something I just felt like everyone should be very careful of. Like, just have that in mind. Whatever country you're applying to, make sure you always check that that university you're applying to, they have accreditation or they are registered and considered as a learning institution that can accept international students. Like, bear that in mind. So back to your question, the best way you can find the suitable time frame to submit your application is to go on the university website. University website has information about deadlines for program application, and it varies from program to program, not just because you're applying for, let's say, you're applying for nursing at the University of Manitoba. Like, always check the time frame. It's clearly written on the website and it changes. Like, just check on the web. It's the website you can actually get first-hand information, not even from me or from anyone. That's all I can say in regards to your question. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much, Brenda. It's been a wonderful time with you. For some of us who are not yet following on Twitter, our handle is at Moments with Ben. She shares scholarship opportunities, grants, trainings, and several other things you can think of. So please make it a date with her. Just follow her on Twitter, and then of course get first-hand information on some of these things we are talking about. So much, but I guess we may need to call it a day right here, right now. Thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate your time, and your contribution has been insightful. To everyone, the conversation continues tomorrow. We understand that the DAAD scholarship is currently ongoing. So we'll be having 2 DAAD awardees who are currently in Germany to put us through the application process, what it entails, and of course, putting together a winning application. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. And if anyone has any question, I would definitely leave my email address with him, and also send across all the questions, like all the required things you've asked me today, so you can have like a copy. And if you like, at your own convenience, on Twitter, I'm only active on Twitter and LinkedIn, but I prefer Twitter because I can reach out to everyone. You can, if you have anything in mind, let's say, so for some of you asked me about how to write like statement of purpose or even scholarship essays. When you go on your Twitter search bar, on your Twitter search bar, you can type statement of purpose at Moments with Brand. So everything I've tweeted or everything I've shared concerning statement of purpose will pop up, and then you can save it or do whatever you want to do with the information. For IELTS waiver request, I know I have done that before. You can just type IELTS waiver request at Moments with Brand, and anything I've tweeted about that will pop up. Anything about interview, scholarship, or whatever, just type it and then it will pop up, and yeah, you can make use of those information.
So thank you so much for that. And just to quickly add as well, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with us after now.
Okay, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Cheers.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye.